Hi, and welcome back to Pick Up the Pieces. I am Stacy, and we are in the Pickup Kitchen. We're going to make a nice, light but very hearty, healthier meal for the new year. This is something we make a lot. We actually really like this recipe. It's a great fall and winter recipe, and it is sort of on the lighter side. Like I said, very comforting, very filling, but very kind of calorie conscious with lots of vegetables and lean ground turkey. So this is a really great quick weeknight meal. And also, if you make this ahead of time, the leftovers are fantastic, and so you could kind of meal prep this for the week if you wanted to. So today's Sunday. We're going to have this, maybe a little bit of it for lunch today, and then the rest for dinner tomorrow. And so I'm going to get this going and show you how we do this. So we have butternut squash here. Now, we had 2 butternut squash, but like part of the one was kind of icky. So no worries. We're going to get the seeds out of these halves of the squash, and then we're going to get these in the oven to roast. We've got the oven preheating to 400 degrees. I'm just going to get these seeds out and get some salt, pepper, and oil on these squash, and they're going to roast until fork tender. And then you can either take the filling that we make and stuff it in the squash and serve it, sort of like fabulous presentation, or you can just scoop out your squash and put it on the plate and put your meat filling on the top. So whichever way you prefer to do it is fine. And if you're meal prepping this for the week, and you can just kind of put it in containers. You can scoop out the squash and put a little bit of it in each container, and then take your meat and put some on the top, and then you've got this ready in your fridge in containers ready to go. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of oil and some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to turn these over and do just a little bit more oil and a little bit more salt and pepper, and then these are going in that oven to bake, and then we will move on to our filling. It's time to make the filling for our stuffed butternut squash, and so I'm just turning my pan on here like a medium heat, and I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to the pan. Now you could use a little cooking spray if you prefer, but just a little bit of oil. And then we're going to saute some onions and celery, and we're going to saute them until they wilt a little bit. Then we're going to add some garlic, some mushrooms, some spinach, some zucchini, and some ground turkey. And then we are seasoning this with some ground ginger, which is lovely, and some oregano. Now you could use fresh ginger if you like. However, we do prefer this with the ground ginger. You don't want a really pungent ginger flavor. So anyway, we're adding onions, and we'll include this recipe in the description for you, of course. But we've got onions and celery. Our celery and onions now have sauteed a bit. I am just going to add just a teeny bit more oil here. And I'm going to add our garlic. We've got 2 cloves of garlic. And I want to kind of wake up that garlic before I put in the spices, and then we're going to add some mushrooms. And so here we've got some salt and oregano and the ginger. And that smells lovely. Like I always say, if you are adding seasoning to a dish, you want to do it when you've got some fat in the pan. We could absolutely have added these seasonings at the end, but this dish will absolutely taste much better if you give your little herbs and seasonings and spices a little toast. So I'm not going to add any additional oil at this point, because the next ingredient is some chopped up mushrooms. This is an 8-ounce package of mushrooms. Mushrooms release a lot of liquid when they cook, and they also cook down a lot. So we are going to let them do their thing here. And when they've reduced down, we're going to add some more ingredients. Our mushrooms have sauteed quite a bit. They've reduced quite a bit, and this liquid that they've released is going to continue to evaporate. Now I'm just going to kind of slide this to the side and get our meat in here, and I will then combine the meat once it cooks with the vegetables. So this is 1 pound of lean ground turkey, and we're going to cook this now into the mixture. And as you can see, this meal comes together really quickly. Your squash cooks for the longest in the oven, about 40 minutes or so. But once that is done, you're ready to eat. And this filling could even be served over some spaghetti squash. Like if you don't like butternut squash and you'd rather have this over spaghetti squash, you could do that. And you could even just serve this over some rice if you like. Really, this filling could be on anything. You could even use sweet potato if you don't like butternut squash. Just put it over some sweet potato. So we are going to let this turkey get cooked up and browned a little bit, and then I will show you the next step. Our ground turkey now is cooked nicely. There's no more pink left. Now, if you wanted, you could use ground chicken for this. You could use ground beef. We prefer ground turkey. You could also make this a meatless meal if you wish, and you could add some beans, or just leave it as is with all the vegetables and add no additional protein, but this would be really good. Now, the other thing I think you could do also is maybe add some quinoa to this. So you could have your butternut squash, add some quinoa, and then add this if you wanted a little bit of extra protein as well. So now we have half a bag of baby spinach. That's going to go in. And it looks like a lot, but spinach always cooks down drastically and dramatically. So we're going to let this wilt down a little bit, and then we're going to add in some chopped up zucchini. Just one zucchini, but our spinach here is going to need to wilt down before we add anything else to the pan. So our spinach has wilted down, or at least it started to, and so that's nice. It's making some room in the pan for us. It looks like a lot of spinach when you first put it in, but as you can see, it really does reduce down to only a little bit. I swear you could use 15 pounds of spinach and you'd end up with a cup. So it's that's very common with spinach. Now, lastly, we're going to add our zucchini. So this is just one medium zucchini that's been chopped into quarters. And we're going to cook this in with the rest of the ingredients until it's soft and fork tender. And then this will actually be ready to go in our squash. Our turkey filling here is now done. I did cover it for a few minutes just to help the zucchini to cook through. There is a little bit of liquid still at the bottom of the pan, but that's okay. We're just going to use a slotted spoon to serve ourselves. It's just some of the liquid that comes out of the vegetables when you cook them. And when our butternut squash is done roasting, I will give this a taste and let you know how it turned out. Our smaller pieces of squash are completely cooked through, and so we've pulled them out of the oven, and our bigger halves of squash are still cooking, but I wanted to show you how this comes out. So now the easiest thing to do, I mean, you could absolutely scoop this out and eat it that way, but we still have the skin on the other side of this, but that's okay. I'm just kind of flattening this and then using my fork to sort of loosen up the butternut squash. And really, you can just take your cooked squash and cut it into, you know, thirds or quarters or halves and use that to serve. And if you're meal prepping, then you would just scoop this out, put it in a container, and you can discard the skin. So then our filling is ready as well. And I'm going to give myself a nice scoop of filling on top of this. And I want to make sure I get all the different veggies and some of the meat and the mushrooms and everything. And then this would also actually be good if you wanted to dab a little bit of hot sauce on the top. That sounds delicious to me, but we're going to give this a taste. Now it is hot, so I am not going to take an enormous bite here because I value the roof of my mouth, but I'm going to try to get a little bit of everything here in a bite. So I've got my butternut squash and some of the meat and the spinach and the mushrooms and the zucchini, so we're going to give this a taste. This is so tasty. The sweetness of the butternut squash kind of offsets the savoriness of the meat mixture. That oregano and that little hint of ginger is just really nice and light. And the spinach is delicious. The mushrooms are nice and tender. Overall, this is definitely a winning dish. We make it on a regular basis during fall and winter, and we love it. Like I said, leftovers are even better. If you wanted to, you could even top this with like a little bit of cheese or, like I said, some hot sauce. But this makes a great lunch, it makes a great meal prep for the week, and it makes an amazing dinner. So I want to thank you for joining us in the Pickup Kitchen. I'm so grateful that you are here. If you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.